down that line, keep them low and away, and there's my hinge. If I tell people to push down and away, what do they sometimes do? They lose their height. So he always reminds our students, hey, keep your chin on a glass tabletop, gripping it in the base of the palm and the fingers with that lead hand right here. Okay, so when I take my grip, so basically that hinge is happening at the same pace my body's turning. So watch this. At this point in the swing, you saw how low his hands stayed relative to his belt line. And for you to get that club up into the same spot, you know, you really had to you lifted your arms more. We talked about how if you watch your set position, unlike his, that's just much sharper, right? Sharper. That's the same frame right there. You can see where his club is relative to your club. The biggest thing there is, you know, you look at your right elbow, has that look of being like this. And that right shoulder looks a little jammed up there like that. His is more, well, what was that? He was just pushing down and away a little bit more, using the shoulder to create the hinge. And look what it did to that right arm as he pushed away. It kept it with good structure, unlike the lifting like that had a lack of leverage and really put their arm a little bit out of position. So in total, it was this. It was our hip bump, and then we talked about learning the turn from there, just coiling and staying right on the inside of that right leg. We put the club across the chest, right over the inside of that back foot. Hips over ankles, a little sharper, a little taller. We then talked about the shoulder and hands really setting that hinge together. You showed up watching some of our videos knowing the hinge. You knew the hinge. You just didn't know what you needed to feel personally in order to create that hinge. You were very good at doing it with just arms and hands. And then when you would rehearse it, it just wasn't done with the shoulder. And that's what we talked about, pacing it. And the longer we got with the clubs too, the more important that is that lead shoulder paces the hands, paces the hinge. They hear it like Adam Scott, where we just push the handle low and away to create that leverage. And you can see the structure of the arms is better. He's more connected as a result. And then we're gonna also then work on our big move, which was staying in posture and not seeing that lower body move out towards the golf ball, okay? Now, I always like using straight lines. My hands are hanging on that line. I'm gonna push my hands right down that line, keep them low and away, and there's my hinge, okay? So it's just gonna feel like for you, you're using the turn you created from here and make that the driving force of that hinge. And for you, when you check this in the mirror, I want you to see that right cheek moving back into your left and that right hip in this position here on the inside of your right foot when you create this hinge. You're gonna see you have all that space here, all that connection, and then work right back around your left side, okay? One thing I would throw in there occasionally is just that beginning move, you know, because I would like to see you keep the hands a little lower, a little longer, and I'd like to, do that without, and here's the thing, it's very easy. I'm gonna use Cameron Sisk on this one. He always comes in, every once in a while, he'll teach like 3 or 4 clinics with us a year. It's fun, he joins, and it's great when you have a player who's been with me for so long because they know tendencies. Like what's the tendency of even telling somebody the right thing? If I tell people to push down and away, what do they sometimes do? They lose their height. So he always reminds our students, hey, keep your chin on a glass tabletop while you push away. There's the width, there's the connection, okay? That frees up your ability to turn. Yeah, good, really good, really good.
It comes out better if I take that, like much slower.
Exactly.
And just guide it up there.
Exactly.
As opposed to that gets quick.
100%, and then you get out of sequence.
All of a sudden you...
Yeah, 100%. No, we talked about that. Like, you know, the good thing for you is you made so many good swings yesterday, especially, where you looked at me, you must have looked at me and said it 50 times. You're like, I just feel all this room here.
Yeah.
And if you don't, just know there's a great chance that their arms and hands got faster than your upper body's turn, right? So I tell people all the time, you want that left shoulder to pace the hands to the top. Now, it's so easy to get in there and get the hands speedy, and that arm wraps across the chest, you're already pinned.
And you're gone.
Okay, exactly. So number one priority, setup, take away, you know, that nice smooth turn to the top. Dude, really good there, really good. It's such an important reminder, not just for you, but for our viewer. Whenever you work on a takeaway, whenever you work on hinging the club especially, what do people think about when they think about hinging the club? Their wrists and their hands, okay? when I think about hinging a club, I think about personally the back of my left shoulder. Yeah, I understand I'm creating an L between my lead arm and the golf club. I understand that. But this is the driving force to that. And I think, I know we've been over this, but I'm sure someone who's watching this video is a new viewer who might not have heard this before. We have the leverage created between our lead arm and the golf club. For most people, that's going to happen gripping it in the base of the palm and the fingers with that lead hand right here. Okay, so when I take my grip and I tilt over the right way, I have this angle between my lead arm and the club. Now, when I push down on that handle as I turn, it leverages the golf club. Now, here's the thing. I'm using this shoulder to move my hands. I'm pushing my hands down this way. So basically that hinge is happening at the same pace my body's turning. And that's what allows me to keep that width, that distance between my body, center of my hands, and the connection. And that's what those two swings had. Yeah, got a lot better. Got the shot tracer going, Kev? Yes, sir. Good.
That's reminiscent of yesterday.
Yes, sir.
It's the time.
Absolutely.
It's the time to get that back.
Yeah.
And then with this out the way, you got all the room in the world to get that
rhythm
through there without getting caught.
I always say it, rhythm is the glue that holds the golf swing together. And rhythm is what makes it possible to be able to do the stuff we're talking about. You get fast and there's just, not only are we losing the connection, there's just no chance that we're gonna be able to stay in posture on the way down and have the proper sequence, right? It's great. Yeah, those are so much better, dude. And here's the thing I wanna remind you of. When you go play, one of the things my dad did for me that I thought was just tremendously helpful. When I went to the course, no matter what I was working on, right before I teed off, he'd come up to me, he'd give me the knuckles, and he'd go, hey, smooth takeaway, complete your backswing today. The smooth takeaway, complete your backswing. You know what it is? It's connection, connection. It's so easy, especially when we think about a downswing move, to race ahead to that thought and that feeling, and then you get out of sync. Think about it. Your only 2 bad shots you hit today were when I actually told, what we need to do, but I told you, hey, work on getting those hips out of the way. Well, guess what? Backswing went to hell, because you just, we thought so much about, well, yeah, and then you picked it up right away. You're like, wow, I was just so fast going back. So that's a huge thing for you when you go play. It's a smooth takeaway and completing your backswing and using the body's turn to move the hands to the top. Like those are things, that's something I could tell everybody all the time and they're gonna get better from that. It's just a matter of making sure that stays as a constant in your golf swing. All right, that makes me feel really good. At Porzak Golf, we take a lot of pride in having developed some of the best and most consistent golf swings on the planet. We do this through simplicity. Our Full Swing Masterclass will take you on a step-by-step, easy-to-understand process on how to get your golf swing better than ever. Join the many before you who've utilized our Full Swing Masterclass to take their games to the next level and beyond.